Oh boy, my package is almost here. Wow, what an enthusiastic delivery man. I'm so excited I ordered the secret to fast track my fat loss. It feels kind of light though. Hey! I paid $100 for this!
What's up guys? Hannah Marie Strong RD here, and in this video we're talking about tracking. If you want to improve your physique or you're trying to adopt healthier eating habits, you've probably heard of the concept of tracking what you eat. You may be asking yourself, should I track? I'll just cut to the chase. Yes, you should. Ugh, but Hannah, tracking is so much work. Do I have to? No, you don't have to track to make progress, but you won't reach your full potential in the mirror or in the gym if you don't pay close attention to your calories and macronutrients. In my last video, I covered the advantage of counting macronutrients versus calories alone. If you haven't seen that already, be sure to check it out so you have a full understanding of why we count macros in the first place. This video is all about the benefits of tracking your macros and why you should be tracking. When I introduced the concept of tracking your intake, I used an analogy of playing darts. If we were going head to head in a dart game, would you rather throw your dart with a clear view of the board, or would you want to attempt it blindfolded? Just as you're more likely to hit the bullseye when you can see what you're aiming for, you're more likely to hit your nutrition targets if you know exactly what it is you're eating. And the only way to know for sure is by tracking your intake as accurately as possible. I'm going to be sharing the top 10 reasons why I recommend nutrient tracking as a fitness-focused registered dietitian. Starting with reason number 1, it's a nutrition education tool. As your RD, I'm going to advise you to start with some basic healthy eating habits. Prioritize lean protein, fiber, and non-starchy fruits and vegetables. You're also going to want to limit saturated fats, excessive sodium, and added sugars. Okay, great. You listened to my expertise and you're super excited to embark on this healthy eating journey. But there's just one problem. As a beginner, you have no idea what foods are good sources of the nutrients you need or which food should be limited. Without intentionally looking at the label and recording what you eat, how will you ever know what's in the food? My nutrition philosophy is everything in moderation. But it's important to ask yourself, what is this particular food or meal doing for me? Is it providing ample protein, fiber, vitamins, and minerals? How will you know if you don't track? Number 2, food label awareness. The act of logging your meals is going to make you more cognizant of what and how much you're eating. When it comes to food, how many times are we turning on autopilot? Just grabbing something quick and convenient or reaching for a snack or two when we aren't even truly hungry. When we do this, are we taking the time to turn around the box and look at the label? My guess is probably not. Unless we're already a health-conscious person, the majority of us are not going out of our way to look at the nutrient profile or ingredients list. And if we do, it's usually when we're already eating it. Unless you're old school and prefer handwriting a food diary, I recommend downloading a free fitness tracking app such as MyFitnessPal or Chronometer. Or you can use the food logging feature on Fitbit if you have one. All you have to do is type in the name of the food item and select an entry that matches what you plan to eat. Or, even easier, you can use the barcode scanning feature by simply scanning the code on the back of the package. You can't select an entry without checking to see if it matches up. So, just by tracking, you're being forced to pay attention to the nutrition label. Let's take it a step further. Do you know what the suggested serving size of your favorite snack is? Most of us do not. So when you start tracking your nutrition, you may be surprised to learn that you've actually been eating double the serving of those potato chips, which means double the calories and fat. Tracking on an app requires you to select how much of the food you're eating, so it inadvertently teaches you how to visualize a reasonable portion size. You can do this with a digital scale, measuring cups and spoons, or you can use your hand as a quick guide. I think all three methods have their place. Personally, I prefer digital scales because they're going to be the most accurate. but you don't have to get super crazy and weigh out every single thing that you eat. I mainly encourage the food scale for calorically dense items, things such as nuts, nut butters, regular butters, and oils. A measuring cup is fine to use for things like cooked pasta, rice, and vegetables. And we can use our hand to eyeball a serving of chicken, or whatever meat you prefer. Regardless of the method you choose, it's better to measure in some way than in no way at all. By measuring, you're learning what a true serving size looks like, and tracking that portion is going to teach you exactly what nutrients and how many calories are being provided by that particular food. Which brings me to my next point: accountability. Tracking holds you accountable and therefore encourages healthier dietary habits. You may rethink that casual sugar-sweetened beverage when you see how quickly those calories add up. The apps even show you how dietary choices contribute to your total daily goals by showing you a progress bar. It spells it out for you so you can clearly see if your choices are helping or hampering your progress. And even if you do indulge in a less than ideal Tazo green tea frappuccino at Starbucks, you're less likely to fall off the wagon the next day when you get a lovely "You haven't logged your breakfast for today. Would you like to do it now?" notification. Login and step streaks can also increase motivation, and encouraging messages throughout the day to keep going might bring your nutrition and daily activity goals to the forefront of your mind during a busy workday. This is my favorite reason to track. You can treat yourself and still make progress. Tracking can help you fit your favorite foods or drinks into your daily budget without hindering your progress. You can have anything in moderation and still make strides towards your goals, so long as you go about it the right way. Everyone who works with me knows I preach planning your food ahead of time. This includes your fancy high-calorie drinks and desserts. Let's say I wake up with a craving for a Krispy Kreme donut. I can go in my tracker and log that donut first thing. By taking the calories into consideration, I just have to make more health-conscious choices throughout the rest of the day. Because I spent 11 grams of fat on my donut, I just have to make up for it somewhere else. Maybe that means opting for chicken for dinner rather than a higher calorie cut of meat like beef. If I didn't consciously track my food, I wouldn't even know how much fat is in the donut, let alone how I can account for it in order to still achieve my goals. Both physical and psychological feelings influence our food choices. If you track what you're eating, you can start to see patterns. If a client has a problem with binge eating, for example, I'm going to look at what they ate or didn't eat earlier in the day. A lot of the times, binge-type behavior, or just overeating in general, is caused by skipping meals or skimping on protein and fiber. Both protein and fiber slow digestion and keep you fuller longer and curb a ravenous appetite that may otherwise lead to binging. By increasing total protein and fiber at each meal, we will overpower that physical signal that tells us to keep eating past the point of contentment. If the issue is more psychological, like feeling dissatisfied at mealtimes, we can play around with different macronutrient distributions, or just liberalize the diet to satisfy those cravings before the urge to binge strikes. Who knows, maybe we actually need to add a Krispy Kreme donut to the plan. But I can only pick out the problem and help you find the solution if I know what your overall eating pattern looks like. Do you lack energy when dieting? This is a common issue, and it's caused by nutrient inadequacies when in a calorie deficit. I always say that when dieting is done correctly, you shouldn't even know that you're eating less. That's because dieting the right way still prioritizes proper nutrition. Even in a negative caloric balance, you should feel energized, not like you're hitting a wall or dragging your feet to the coffee maker for your 4th cup before 10 a.m. If you aren't tracking what you're eating, you won't know where your diet is falling short. Tracking your intake can tell you a lot about not only your food, but also about yourself and your body's needs. As your RD, I'll perform a comprehensive assessment which includes a personalized macronutrient breakdown. But suggested macros are just starting points based on energy predictive equations and my professional judgment. We won't truly know how many calories you need or the most efficient macros for your body until you try them and hit them consistently. It's one thing to struggle through the workday unenergized, but powering through an intense game of soccer or loading several hundred pounds onto your back is a whole different animal. Athletic clients often come to me with complaints of fatigue during workouts. I'll have them track their intake so I can help them find a solution. When I see a detailed food log, I'll be able to pick out the gaps in the diet that may have caused lethargy. Oftentimes, these clients are underfueling without even realizing it. By having them track and try different macros, we can figure out how many meals and carbohydrates they need prior to their training to support maximum performance. Athletes have to play around not only with their total carbs before training, but also the type of carbohydrate. Some do better with more fiber to keep hunger at bay during long training sessions, but others may respond poorly to higher fiber. Both excess hunger and GI distress during training hinder performance, so it's important to try different foods to strike the balance. The only way to figure it out is by trying and tracking. Otherwise, you may not remember what you responded well or poorly to. Speaking of GI distress, tracking can help resolve digestive issues by pinpointing triggers or intolerances. Many people come to me with persistent bloating, constipation, and/or diarrhea. Most of the time, they aren't sure which foods are aggravating their gut. Usually, they'll blame what they just ate for their symptoms. But what they don't realize is gastrointestinal problems such as bloating or bowel troubles are unlikely caused by the previous meal. It's usually tied to what they ate in the 48 hours prior. Most people can't even remember what they ate for breakfast, let alone what they ate 2 days ago. By keeping a food log as well as a detailed symptom diary, we can look back at what they consumed in the days leading up to their symptoms. Tracking the food allows us to play detective in order to figure out which ingredient or nutrient is responsible for the problem. That's why tracking is a non-negotiable for my GI clients. No tracking would mean no data, no solution, no improvement in gut health or quality of life. These are just some of the reasons why you should be tracking your nutrition. If you're thinking about tracking but you aren't quite sure where to start, consider working with a registered dietitian, preferably me. I'm obviously a nutrition expert nowadays, but I was once a beginner just like you, and I would have loved to have a registered dietitian there to teach me how to track and make nutrition just a part of my life. So if you need a little bit of help, reach out. I would love to start working with you. Link in the description below. Don't be shy. Book a free consult. Let me help you. If you're not ready to take that next step yet, that's okay. But be sure to check out one of the other nutrition videos that I put out right here. Please click it. Please hurry up and tap it. I need to eat protein again.